Left 4 Dead 2 is the highest rated co-op shooter of all time. This title is well deserved, but it has a much lesser known game mode, a game mode that's history will be explored in this video, Left 4 Dead 2 Versus. Left 4 Dead 2 is a cooperative zombie shooter game that was released in 2009 by Valve. It is a mode called Versus where two teams of 4 players take turns playing as survivors and special infected. The survivors have to make their way through a series of maps while the infected have to stop them by attacking them with various abilities. Left 4 Dead 2 Versus is a unique and challenging game mode that requires a lot of teamwork, communication and strategy from both sides. It also has a lot of potential for competitive play as it involves skill, tactics and coordination. However, despite Left 4 Dead 2's success, Versus has never really received much attention from Valve or the esports community. In this video I will explore some of the complexities of Left 4 Dead 2 Versus. By default, the game mode is scored based on the distance the survivors cover and the number of survivors who reach the safe room at the end of the map. In the event of a tie, the infected side who did the most damage would be awarded bonus points. This system works well in a non-competitive environment, but by as early as 2010, a year after the game's release, it was realised that this system was not up to the task of scoring the performance of teams in a competition. In 2010, the Left 4 Dead 2 World Cup used a modified version of the Left 4 Dead 1 Versus scoring system. Created by atop, this plugin calculates the round score based on how many survivors made it to the safe room and their health, instead of simply the distance travelled. This plugin also introduced changes that take into account the map's difficulty and the number of special infected killed. atop's plugin was found to be buggy, and support for it dwindled quickly as most new tournaments implemented their own scoring system. The Left 4 Dead 2 Community Cup hosted by CGFB in 2011 used a slightly modified version of the Left 4 Dead 1 scoring system, adding points for completion of certain objectives or events in a map. The team Too Late had a dominant performance in this competition. Development of scoring systems continued, and by 2012 two had become the most widely used, L and ProMod. Both alter the scoring, but also make changes to the balance of the game itself, ensuring that weapons are of equal strength and giving more control to server administrators. For example, giving them the ability to configure the fog density on a map, L's namesake. With L, survivors earn 100 points per survivor per map, plus 25 per survivor to make it to the safe room. However, L deducts points from the survivors for every point of health they lose during the chapter. This incentivizes the infected to do as much damage as possible and punishes the survivors for medkit and defibrillator use, as they can lead to negative points scored. In addition to this, L has a distance bonus feature, which will award points equal to the distance travelled by each survivor divided by 2. ProMod looks similar on the surface, but has some key differences. It awards the same 100 points plus 25 per survivor to make it to the safe room, but in certain situations medkit use is punished. The penalty is calculated based on the health difference between the start and end of the round, multiplied by a factor of 0.75. For example, if you start the round with 50 health and end it with 100 after using a medkit, you will lose 100 minus 50 times by 0.75, equaling 37.5 points from your score. ProMod also has a distance bonus, equal to the distance travelled divided by 4. Additionally, ProMod removes defibrillators, adrenaline shots, boomer bile, among other things. Both L and ProMod are used actively within the community, with L seeming to be the slight favourite. In recent years, the Left 4 Dead 2 scoring scene has been shaken up, as much as a scoring scene from a 14-year-old game with a very small community can be, by the release of the Statistic and Ranking System, or SRS for short. SRS is a powerful statistic and ranking system which uses SQLite database. It allows server administrators to set the score, or get the score, for almost any Left 4 Dead 2 event, such as the damage done with a certain weapon or the number of headshots for a given player. It's unclear how much of an impact SRS will have on the community, as many players are very used to L and ProMod. Player skill is one of the most important aspects of Left 4 Dead 2 Versus, seconded only by good teamwork. There are many aspects to player skill that may affect the quality of their play. Here are some of them. Map knowledge. Knowing the best route through a map and the spawn locations of items is extremely useful, though many competitive mods aim to add an air of randomness to both of these aspects. Aside from routing and spawns, map knowledge can allow a player to quickly respond to situations, for example, escaping a tank or a horde. When infected, map knowledge can allow for instant kills or allow for a team to set up a potent ambush. Resource conservation. Health is the most important resource to conserve in Left 4 Dead 2 Versus. Not only does losing it reduce your team's score, but it can also affect the effectiveness of your play. as when you're reduced below certain HP thresholds, your character will slow, making you an easier target. Knowing when and how to use utility items also factors into this. Ammo can be an issue on some maps, depending on weapon and ammo pal spawns. Aim is obviously important. Situational response. How one responds to certain situations can greatly impact their team's performance. For example, if a teammate gets boomed, they will become the target of many nearby infected, and they should be supported to avoid HP loss. Infected skills. Each special infected requires its own set of skills to play effectively. Most notably is the tank. Being able to hit rocks with the tank is a great way to poke the enemy team, and being able to hit car or other prop shots is a great way to kill them. Left 4 Dead 2 was never meant to be a competitive game, and so its tournaments and competitions have always been driven and run by the community since their inception. There have been many tournaments since Left 4 Dead 2, most have unfortunately ended, but new ones have arisen in their place. Some notable tournaments through Left 4 Dead 2's history are the Left 4 Dead 2 Nations Cup, a national tournament that had 4 editions with its last in 2015, the Custom Campaign Tournament, a series of tournaments featuring custom maps and configs. Notably, the map Urban Flight was introduced in this tournament, a map now present by default in Left 4 Dead 2. And finally, the Yogscast Left 4 Dead 2 tournament, sponsored by Nvidia and commentated by Yogscast Tom and Pyrion. Each tournament is unique, and their skills varied greatly, but each one showed the commitment that the community has to this game. The competitive scene is still alive and well, some years seeing upwards of 40 tournaments, and new teams are always welcome. While Valve didn't provide much in terms of support for organising tournaments or providing prize money, they should still be commended for their continued support of Left 4 Dead 2. As of writing this video, the last update for Left 4 Dead 2 was in August of 2023, the 5th update of the year. These updates are usually small bug fixes, but many developers would have long abandoned their games at this point. Furthermore, dedicated servers have long been available for Left 4 Dead 2, both for co-op and versus, though they seem to be decreasing in quantity in recent years. Left 4 Dead 2 is an excellent game, a game that no other game in the genre has been able to match since its release, a game that I would recommend to anyone with even a passing interest. The character interactions in the game alone are enough to make any map enjoyable, with the gameplay and map design only adding to this. The versus game mode is a niche within a niche, likely only appealing to a very small portion of those interested in the genre, but in my opinion it is incredibly enjoyable. And for those interested in the game, the tournaments are a great watch, and many of the VODs are still available online, with some great casting. On a personal note, Left 4 Dead 2 has featured prominently within my friend group, with us playing games frequently during the COVID pandemic. We went as far to make a ranking system to make our games fairer. I gladly recommend this game to anyone with even a passing interest in zombie or co-op shooter games, and I recommend you do the same. And with that, I have said enough. Thanks for 49 subs, I guess.